Well, you did start it. Okay, got it. Okay, everybody. Well, welcome Saturday. It's October, so all the things you missed out in September, you're going to roll them into October now. So don't stress about it. The good news is that we have a lot planned this morning. We're going to have an active morning. This is a session that talks about our club boards. And as you guys know, club board is basically kind of the heart of every club. So let me kind of go over our agenda real quick today, and then I'll give Randy a couple of seconds or a minute or so to talk about his thoughts for today. But I'm gonna talk a little bit about a 20-minute segment just about boards, and I'm gonna actually tell you a little story about two boards, and then we're gonna get a presentation from Nancy Cabral about effective boards. We have Rose Kirkland and Sherry joining us from Toastmasters this morning to talk a little bit about board meetings. Then Bev Hikes from Rotary Club of Hilo is going to talk to us about developing leadership. Then we're going to go into breakout groups based on club size. So it'll be a self-select type of breakout group where you can select based on your club size. And if you don't know what your club size is, we'll tell you. We're going to regroup and talk a little bit about those responses. Then Naomi is going to finish up talking a little bit about club elections and succession planning, and then we'll wrap it up and hope to be out of here by 10:30. So I know that's super exciting. So we're looking kind of forward to getting it going today. So let's turn it over to our illustrious leader, Mr. Hart, for our initial words of wisdom. Go ahead, Randy.
Well, thanks, Benson, and welcome, and thank all you folks for sharing your Saturday morning hour and a half training with District 5000, and big shout out and appreciation to both Benson and Naomi for their diligence in putting this training together every Saturday and many times through the evening. Of all the trainings that we do, and if you take a look at the district training schedule, there's a ton of training, that's offered out there. And I'd venture to say that probably one of the most, if not the most important training pieces is what Benson and Naomi and company will go over this morning as far as board training goes. I know for whenever I was president that having a solid board behind you just made the experience so much more enjoyable, and allows the president to focus on the things that they think is the most important. So I agree wholeheartedly with Vincent in that picking your board is probably one of the most important tasks that you'll do as a president or as a PE. And of course, a lot of the PEs are already gearing up. And probably the most important thing that they can do at this point is make sure that they have a good, solid board, and the board is participating in the training where needed. It just makes life so much more simpler for the president and for the president and some of the key leaders not to be trying to juggle too many things at once. And whenever you're trying to juggle too many things, you're not doing anything really, really well. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of the training that we'll do this morning. And again, thank you all for showing up this morning. I know it's kind of hard to give up an hour and a half of your Saturday, so very much appreciated that 41 of you or 40 of you decided to join in this morning. So thank you much, and back to you, Benson.
Okay, Randy, thanks a lot. Always appreciate what input you have to get things going. Okay, so let me start out real quickly. I've got about the next 20 minutes, and I'm going to start out with a little story about our club. And basically, you're a lot of you guys that are on the call today, you're going to see parts of your board in what I'm just going to describe over the next 5 minutes. So I became a Rotarian in 2015. Doug Adams, who's our assistant governor, was our club president. Now, we had a super thriving club. Almost 60 members at that time. You know, we had a lot of people coming in, very active club, gave a lot of money to the foundation, active in a lot of service projects that were out there. But the base of our club was really, it was at a time where the club was really run by a board of 5 people, right? And 4 of those people were in the same position for 10 years, right? So the culture of our club was really being kind of dictated. Now, it would change every year because we'd have a new president, but our club, the dynamic of our club basically stayed the same for about 10 years because it was under the control of these 4 people. Now, that wasn't necessarily a bad thing because in their mind, they felt like, well, hey, if we're going to do all the work, then we should be the ones that made all the decisions. And it actually made it really easy for our club because a lot of the new members like me, I just sort of followed along and, you know, they had the calendar out and, you know, I was a greeter here and then I was on this committee or whatever. And it moved along really well and our club was really productive. And the next year, our incoming president came in, we actually went up to almost 70 members. And that made Hilo Club really concerned because we were sort of right on their tail and they were not going to allow us to be the biggest club in Hilo. So then what happened is that in the coming years, as Rotary began to change, right? So in the about a decade ago or 6 or 7 years ago, one of the big things that stopped in Rotary is they stopped taking attendance. And when attendance changed, I mean, when they stopped having that requirement, and all of a sudden people didn't have to come, or they weren't penalized, they had to go do a makeup meeting at another club, the dynamic of Rotary was changing a little bit. Rotary wanted to make themselves more attractable to other people, so they stopped. A lot of clubs stopped doing things like fining people, and fining people means that they would have a monetary fine. Like in our club, if your picture appeared on the front page of the newspaper, you got like a $20 fine or a $10 fine. It could be like a $50 fine. In fact, I think if you were above the crease of the paper on the front page, it was like a $50 fine. So you know, all of those things started to kind of go away a little bit. The culture of the club started to change a little bit because our leadership didn't want to go in that direction anymore, right? So this 5-person board that had controlled our club for over 10 years, and we had the same treasurer and secretary for over 10 years. When a new president came in 2017, and I was the president-elect, the first thing she did is told me, I want you to rewrite the bylaws so that we can have a bigger board. All right. So during the year I was president-elect, I rewrote the bylaws. And so we went from a 5-member board to a 12-member board. And when that happened, of course, that control group that was controlling our club, they were voted out. Or I mean, they could be overridden in all of their decisions because lots of stuff was going on that was just, you know, they felt, hey, in the best interest of the club and to stop wasting any time, let's just make these decisions arbitrarily. Like when we would do fundraisers and all this money would come in, they would just arbitrarily, this little core group, decide who the money was going to go to, right? And so when the leadership changed, sort of my regime started coming in, or my leadership group, all of a sudden they said, oh no, we need to put an RFP out to decide who's going to get the money. And so things started to change. And so that group then who had controlled our club decided, you know what, we don't like this anymore. And so they left. And so when they left, what happened is that they had a lot of systems, procedures, all of the stuff that was in place sort of left along with them. So now the difficult part, right, is that the new group, which is led by me, that democracy is really hard, right? when all of a sudden now, all right, we're going to put this out there so everybody can decide, and it made it super challenging. And so over the course of that period of time, then of course the pandemic showed up, and it decimated our club because a lot of people couldn't respond or adapt quick enough to go with what Rotary was becoming a new thing now, a different thing, right? And so a lot of the legacy people, the people that had been there a long time, it wasn't working for them because they needed to be in person. They didn't want to do Zoom meetings, all of that. And so then our board began to really evolve to creating a different culture for our club. And so we started to reorganize things to basically, instead of putting people into committees, putting people into teams, and that seemed to work okay. But it was very, very difficult to do that. And the changes that went on during the last 7 years took our club basically down from almost, like, I think at our high, we were 68 members. And now we're down to, I think it's 29 members. But the good news about that is that it reset ourselves, right? And so now I think we have the foundations to grow ourselves back into a more thriving club. The good news is that more people are being involved now because we're creating more opportunities for people to be engaged, because before there wasn't that much opportunity. I mean, you could come to service projects or whatever, but to lead something, not that much unless you ask for it. So I'm telling you this brief little story, and it's over now. Just to tell you that the board, I was always under the impression that it was the president that dictated a lot of how the club went. But what I'm understanding now, it's really the board that creates the culture of what the club is like. And so I'm going to take you through a couple of really quick slides right here that will talk a little bit about it. Okay, so your president leads the club, but it's your board that really runs the club, right? That's the sort of the energy behind every club. And so in a nutshell, and this is what I've learned right now, if you want, you can go, and all of you guys that have board experiences, you can go into all of these things about roles, responsibilities of board members. But what I saw in my experience, and what I saw in my club and many other clubs that I've been into and seen, is that there's three things that I think the board is responsible for. Three things that you can jot down, put them in your phone or whatever. Now, if you're thinking about, all right, well, what do we talk about in board meetings? Yeah, here's your agenda right here. Okay, the culture of the club, and I'm going to talk about this more in the next slide. And the culture is basically, how does your club act? How do they behave? Is it a welcoming club? Is it a club that people want to stay there? Is it a social club? It's a very strict club. I think Naomi was telling me when she went to or somebody was telling me that they went to a Rotary meeting in Japan. Very, 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 very formal. Okay, so that's the culture of their club. The next thing is oversight, and oversight is basically making sure that you're following the bylaws. Making sure that you have all the operational systems going for your club, and then making sure, of course, that you're consistent and moving along with the strategic plan of your club. And then the third thing is just opportunities, is creating opportunities, and I believe that this is sort of our the core thing of our leadership, is really to create opportunities. So let me talk a little bit about those three things. All right, so the culture of the club is this, right? So culture dictates basically how you behave, what your systems are like. It has to be sort of a sense of value. So in the beginning of the year, Naomi and I were talking about value, and I was telling her, it's kind of like if you have a house, and like Hawaiian word for value is vai-vai, right? So hale vai-vai, like what value does your club have? I mean, what's the value proposition that your club can give out to the people that are members, that are members of your club? All right. Safety is a big issue, and we're not talking about getting hit on the head by a ladder. What we're talking about is that it's a safe environment. And that's why Rotary is out now with diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's about creating a safe spot so that anybody, regardless of what they came from, the area they came from, their nationality, their ethnic background, whatever, that they can come to Rotary and have a safe place to be. And then having a culture of growth in your club so that your club is always learning, that it's always growing. So, we talk about, and Randy's big thing this year is to create more membership. So membership is really important. But if we lose people, if people keep leaving Rotary, and unfortunately, the average new Rotarian that joins Rotary now, gone within 3 years. And the reason that is because they typically do not like or can't relate to the culture of a club, how a club acts, what they value. Is it safe for them? And is it a place where they can stay and they can grow? Okay, so that's culture of the club. And as a board, you got to be thinking about that. The second thing is really you're the oversight mechanism of the club. So, I'm surprised sometimes that some clubs who don't really know the bylaws or understand them or even use them. So that's why the bylaws are there, so that you have a guideline to use them. Now, if they're outdated, and a lot of club bylaws are outdated, because if you just took the Rotary template of bylaws and never really did anything except add your club name in them, they're probably outdated. So you can rewrite them, and if you need help with that, call us and we can walk you through whatever is going to be relevant for your club. The next thing is like systems, operational systems, right? I mean, how do your dues get paid? Do you have greeters for the club? Who sets up the sound system? Who's getting the speakers for the club? All of these operational systems, the board has to be able to be looking at those things to make sure that they're working, that they're including people, that they're efficient, all of those things, right? The biggest oversight thing that I'm a big believer of is the strategic plan. And like a lot of clubs have developed a strategic plan, and they make the plan and then they put it in a drawer somewhere, and it sits there until somebody asks them, hey, do you have a strategic plan? And then they take it out of the drawer. A strategic plan, basically, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to put a strategic plan together, is a dynamic document that should be the guideline of what the board does every time it gets together. Are we hitting these goals? Are we doing these things that we say we're going to do? And you can have a really complicated strategic plan, or you can have a pretty simple one. And I'll talk about some of the simple ways you can put a plan together. All right, and then the other thing that the board really has to look at is like, are we creating opportunities, right? Opportunities for people to learn, right? Opportunities for people to serve. That's like creating these abundant amount of service projects that we have. All right, creating opportunities for people to lead, all right, to develop leadership. So if you're an up and coming professional person and you went to your boss and say, hey, next year I would like to be the leader of this division, they're going to tell you, go back to your desk and call me in like 10 years. But if you're an upcoming person in Rotary, you say, I'm interested in being club president. I guarantee you within 2 years, you're gonna be there at the, at PETS in LA with all of us learning how to lead a club. And then the other big opportunity that the board has to look at is that are we having opportunities for people to connect? And that's why I think the social activities, clubs that have a lot of social activities, or at least put that in as a priority. Like our club went from like 4 traditional meetings, Tuesday at noon, every Tuesday, to now we meet twice a month. We have a social get together, which are super fun because our president Cat makes them super fun. And then we have a service project. So we're getting together 4 times, but different than how we used to do it, right? Okay, so opportunities to learn, to serve, to lead, to connect. That all comes along with the culture of the club and what it's going to take for people to want to stay there. All right. Let me talk about just strategic planning real quick, and I'll flip through this. If your club doesn't do a strategic plan, and they want to do one, you could start coming up into this next year. I mean, well, you could start now and we'd be happy with it. But we have a workshop every year. It's typically after pets, sometime in March, where it's called Vibrant Clubs Workshop. And within that is strategic planning. You put this on your calendar. It's Saturday, March 20th, from 9 to 11 a.m. And we're going to walk you through how to strategically plan for your club. So let me show you what this Rotary document looks like real quick. Some of you have already seen it because you've done strategic planning with us, and it's basically this, right? Rotary puts out a strategic plan, and okay, and so it basically goes along the line of like trying to figure out like phase one, you know, how's our club doing, you know? So you're gonna sort of make an assessment of what is happening within your club, developing a vision, you know, putting a plan together on what you want to achieve, and then you want to track the progress of it. Now, if you want to follow this, there's a whole guide to this. I can email this to you. If your club doesn't have this, that's okay. We can develop it. Or, you know, you don't even have to follow this plan. I mean, you can do something simple like, okay, get your board together and just say, okay, well, what do we want to do? When do we want to do it? How are we going to do it? Who's going to do it? I mean, just really simple like that. And you can just make a list of things because that strategic plan is basically kind of the goals of how you guys put together for your years and for your upcoming year. And Randy will tell you that goals are like super important. But having a plan is really pretty essential to getting your club going and really giving the board that opportunity to really provide that oversight, to help develop the culture, and also to develop opportunities within the club. So, you know, people are saying, hey, you know, we should time Benson to make sure he doesn't go over. So I'm actually 1 minute ahead of time. So if you have questions or comments, put them in the chat, or we can circle back at the end and we can talk more about them. But right now, I wanted to introduce my good friend Nancy Cabral, who's a past president of the Rotary Club of Hilo, and he's just an absolute monster in a good way in our community here in Hilo. So I wanted to turn it over to Nancy, and Nancy's going to talk a little bit about effective boards. So go ahead, Nancy.
Thank you, Benson. I appreciate all the compliments. And of course, that you're on time, that means I've got to be on time, and you and I can probably talk for the full 2 hours. So what makes an effective board? An effective board is success. If you're successful as a board, a lot of the rocks and the rolls can be ignored. Effective boards get things done. Success is getting things done. Little things you think about for your effective board, and I'm going to talk of boards and your committees, because your committees are really boards of yours too. You know, each committee is going to have a board under them that they work with, and those are a lot of the real depth success of a Rotary Club. Meeting in a good location, a good time for the majority of your members, especially your key members. You will never please all the people all the time. They need to make the sacrifice for that position. Refreshments help because it makes it a pleasant experience. Those little things count. Provide, if your meeting goes on beyond about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes, provide for a break so that they can take a break and don't have to get up and use the bathroom and disturb everybody, or they have that 5, 7 minutes, 10 minutes to be social with each other as board members too. That time ahead of time, might even set up to have your poo-poos ready ahead of time, social time during a break, make your board meetings pleasant to attend, okay? Because the real work of it is going to have to happen during your meeting. Another thing is you got to make sure you set up your meetings to be successful and accomplish things, because good board members are busy people and they don't have time to waste, okay? They don't want to be miserable at a board meeting. Having a good board member now, Benson and I did not compare notes beforehand, but I've got a number of things on mine that are exactly his. Is luckily in a Rotary setting, you as president, I'm talking to being president, or you as your committee chair, you get to help pick the people under you. I manage and have for years, in a sense, like 35 condominium boards. Those people get elected. I have to be paid to deal with them. So you don't, that kind of a board, you don't get to control. Your board as the president, your board as a committee person, are you helping your committee people set up their committees? You get to help control that, because the biggest detriment is when you have your board could be voted in, like we vote them in, but you really pick them before they're voted in. But you have volunteer boards like your lower committees. The more haphazard they are, the more prone to problems they might be, okay? And more likely to challenge us, because each member of your board brings with them potentially their own agenda, their own ego, okay? Biggest detriment to a board is egos, just me, nobody else. So, you know, that's what happens in condominiums, and you don't get paid for that. So, everybody has good intentions. Do not confuse the good intentions. Oh, they're so nice. They really want to do good. If they're detrimental to your organization or to the movement of your board or your committee meeting, then you need to deal with it, because you are the leader. So as a Rotary boards, you want to make sure you select them, or you work with whoever is selecting them, like your board chair is selecting their people. Your greatest success will be realized with the success of all or most of your selected board members and your committee chairs. If they are the good people that can control the board meeting, you control the board meeting, they control their committee meetings. If they're successful because they're dealing with good people, and I don't mean good people that aren't, I mean, everybody's good. I mean, the appropriate person for that position. Select your members carefully. And Benson already somewhat said it. Look at your past people. Just because somebody's been that office or that board person forever does not mean they're the best person in there. They bring with them, like he said, their own agenda. We've always done it this way. They have a lot of power, and you think you can't live with them because you don't know how to do that job. And every president feels that way going in. So you go, oh, well, they've always been the whatever, so I'm just going to keep them because they're nice. Check with the past president, the outgoing president, or the other president before that person to see, were these people on your board, if you're going to ask them to stay on, were they really good board members? I don't mean just effective in doing their task, but good board members. Because if they have too much dictatorial power, or they just sort of think it's got to be their way, they're not necessarily good board members for your overall success. And you, as one president one year, you don't want to necessarily get rid of, like Benson said, you don't really want to lose all 4 or 5 of them in 1 year. You really wanted to say, hey, we're looking at a change. Well, asking maybe you to not be this job, could you be something else? And having that change evolution happen, so you don't just, you know, have a changing of the entire guard in 1 year. Help the president the following year. So kind of check up on whether those people are really good team players. They kind of, everybody on your board needs to own their position or their title or their committee. But you don't want them to overshadow you. You know, dictatorships are truly the best, most efficient form of government, but we're not trying to set it up that way. Yet you, as the president, really are in charge of the overall action at your board meeting. So what you want to do is identify ahead of time any of your board or committee people, even after you've got them on, and you start to see in their actions that maybe they are a detriment to the overall success of the group. And because other people don't want to talk, etc. Try and control that ahead of time. So make sure you try and ask your person and all of your people to be, and meet with them personally before you ask them, just because they've always been the whatever officer. Don't assume they know your agenda and your attitude towards things. Meet with them. And a lot of clubs, I tried to do it during my COVID crazy year. I didn't realize it as successful. Have your second in command and have each person have a second in command, but try and meet with each of your board people in a serious sit down and make sure they're on the same concept that you're on. So that way you can move forward. So once you've got them on, make sure that you set your agenda. I know somebody else is talking about agendas, I think, but your agenda, what do you want to get done at this very successful, effective meeting? And if you have a couple of items that you have to decide this meeting, put them on the top of the agenda. Why even talk minutes or financials or anything like that? Number one, call to order. We have to make this decision. We're gonna put it now. Before you even get to the meeting, you get your agenda, and it's all little one-liners, make that one word or one line. Meet with the person who's going to be giving that presentation or working with you and provide a lot more information, preferably to the entire board group. So they all come from the same place of information, and whoever is in charge of that committee, have them have all of the answers. If they don't have all the answers in the data, and make sure that then you get that taken care of. If you start to run on either one, people start to come in and they go, oh, I have to leave early. Can my item be first? No, I have my item first. Thank you. No, because we've all been to meetings that what you think is just, as the president, you think it's just no big item. In 2 seconds, we're going to make a motion, move, second, pass. All of a sudden, 20, 30 minutes later, you're still discussing this what you thought was not important. Take control of that as the president. Say, you know what, we're not prepared to discuss this. If it's not an emergency, doesn't have to. We're going to table this till the next meeting when we get more information. Once you start to feel that things aren't going to move forward, get back to the things you can be successful in. Nobody wants to go to a meeting for 2 hours and not make a successful decision on anything but minutes and financials. So make sure you control that. Don't let everybody else's potential personal agenda take control and sideswap. You're the president, you're the leader. Make sure you control all of that. So you go in with as much data, control it, table things that can't happen, aren't going to happen. Keep your main discussion on target. Don't get sidelined, okay? Because every meeting needs to be a success. Don't let, and everybody's a good person. They're well-intended, but their item may not be your primary item. Once you've started having successful meetings, you got to make those decisions. Then what will happen is your smaller items will go better. If people get into a habit of being successful at decision making within your group of personalities, then they all roll. Then they all trust that other person to be making a good recommendation. When I don't know them, I don't trust them, I'm not going to agree with them. Why? Just because I don't know them, I don't trust them. That, I think, in-person meetings help, especially if you have a group that don't know each other very well. I think having a combination of in-person and Zoom is ideal if you can control that. That's a much harder type of meeting to control, both as for membership as well as boards. Follow up between your board meetings with your key people. Make sure you're going to be on the agenda. Are you ready for this? If not, I'm not going to put you on the agenda. And if you have a new idea that's never been discussed before, put that in the appropriate place so you can introduce that idea at this meeting, because you're not going to really discuss it till the next meeting, and people can come better prepared to discuss things. Towards the end of a meeting, review everything you've done, because sometimes you're so lost as the person, you can't even hardly think past the last 20-minute discussion on something wasteful. And select. So in review at the meetings, go over what did we discuss. We made this decision, this decision, this decision. We tabled this and this, and we're going to in the future be looking at these ideas. So that way there was people walk out of the meeting, wow, we really did get some things done. They feel better about it. So I think I'm a minute over. But so in my review, select your members well, be tough if you have to. Involve all of your great members, your main members, on setting the agenda and having reports ready. Set up your meetings to take action on necessary items so you can accomplish something. You're the president, you're the leader. Don't let other people get you sidelines. Review and move forward at the end of what's going on. And that will make your meeting successful. And well, having been one of the, as many of you were the president during the COVID year, be prepared and just keep moving forward. You cannot control the whole world, and you just speak, because it's really your members that make your club successful. You're just trying to kind of guide the ship. Just don't let it become the Titanic. So anyway, but our members are great. Thank you very much. Okay. Almost on time.
Thanks, Nancy. You know, everybody, Nancy works with a lot of boards. She goes to a lot of board meetings. So she kind of knows what makes a board productive or not. And so, you know, the ideas of what makes an effective board is really, you know, getting things done. And so what we're going to talk about board meetings and how to have productive board meetings by Toastmasters. Toastmasters has been an official Rotary partner for maybe 2 years now. And so we've had Toastmasters come to do various topics like public speaking. But one of the things they talk about is effective board meetings. So here we have Rose Kirkland, who lives on Maui actually, and she did a public speaking session for some youth service kids on Maui a couple of years ago. And then we have Sherry Ryan. So take it away, Rose and Sherry.
Good morning, everyone. Can you see my PowerPoint? I'm assuming yes. My name, as Naomi said, is Sherry Memora Ryan, Distinguished Toastmaster, and I am currently serving as the District 49 Administration Manager. Also with me is Rose Curlin, Distinguished Toastmaster, and that's the highest educational level that you can achieve in Toastmasters. Rose is a past district director, the highest position in the district, and she currently serves as the District 49 Public Relations Manager. Now, it's important to manage time. So for today, since we have 10 minutes with 2 presenters, Rose will time me, and you can just see. She will raise hand in the reactions icon so she can get to the top of the picture tiles and can be seen by me, the speaker. And she will show the timing virtual background at the start, and green at 3, yellow at 4 minutes, and red at 5 minutes. And let me go to the top of the screen so I can see her. Just a second, I am ready. Now, this is the first step to take is a hard look at the meetings and yourself. In Toastmasters, we have a lot of similar things like you do in Rotary, but for this, we call it moments of truth. It's a self-assessment. Now, to keep our session on time, please private chat your answers to Rose Curlin or if you don't care if everybody sees it, you can just go ahead and chat it to everybody. And answer this question: is the agenda publicized in advance? Is it 5 minutes early, 1 week early, 2 weeks early? Do we have any answers? And you're on mute right now, Rose.
There are no answers in the chat.
Oh, I'm assuming I see that nodding of the heads that it is publicized in advance. I see. What are they? Do they begin and end on time? We'll
The meeting agendas for some are sent a day before.
Okay. We'll talk about that a little more, and we'll talk about the timeliness of meetings. Are they productive? Are members focused on the points of discussion? Do we have any yeses or I see some? And the last hard question: what are the main barriers in your mind to productivity? I'm going to give you an example. Do board members talk too long? Here's another one. Do they arrive late? Does it seem like meetings go on and on and on? I'm telling all the answers because you guys are providing it. Do people blow smoke but hardly accomplish anything? So every meeting, they're just saying they're working on the same thing. And you're thinking, I thought you were supposed to have this done.
Madam Toastmaster, we have that some committee chairs are not prepared, and sometimes the meeting runs too short. And yes, yes, yes to everything you asked.
Oh, yeah. Let me see if I had out. Do people get upset and start arguing? I would think not, but who knows? Maybe they do. Okay, why should you have an agenda and why should you send it out early? It allows everyone to organize their thoughts ahead of time. And it should list all topics that are going to be discussed so people can be prepared. The agenda should include the start and end times so the leader knows the flow of the meeting. Everybody knows how long they have to discuss the topics. The leader knows when to start the meeting, and it lets everyone know that things are organized and professional. Now, what I do as the administration manager is a lot of times people forget the example you gave. People forget they were supposed to do something for the next meeting. I send out reminders on what they're supposed to do to be prepared. So, to ensure board meetings, we need to make sure the meeting starts and ends on time. Now, if people are late, should you wait for them? No, you shouldn't. People don't want to waste their time waiting for the meeting to begin. Don't delay the meeting because not enough people have arrived. If you start on time, late arrivals will try to arrive earlier at the next meeting. We hope. Should you end on time if you haven't discussed everything or made any decisions? There's several answers, probably because people will be grateful if you end when you say you're going to. They may have other commitments. They might actually have they might have a life beyond Rotary. Maybe if it's something really important, you could adjourn the meeting and have the others stay that want to talk about it. Maybe you should call another meeting and continue with the discussion and make decisions. And it might depend on if you have to make a decision right away or discuss the topic right away. So those are my parts, and I take 5 minutes and 41 seconds. Go for it, Rose. You have to unmute.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster Sherry Imamura Ryan, who is also a distinguished Toastmaster, for a very comprehensive presentation. Now, there is in the chat that sometimes the meeting runs late because we're waiting. And yes, they will not be waiting anymore. The appreciation with starting a meeting on time is because it comes in a core values called respect. We start the meeting on time, we end the meeting on time. If you think that you are not going to end on time, then you let everyone know we may be running a little late. Those of you that must leave, please feel welcome to leave, and then you can continue. So what can we do to ensure the board meetings are productive? Again, is to keep the discussion on track. Don't wander off. If you can avoid it, please. And when you see the visual of faces yawning, putting their head down, then you know you have disconnected. And so the thing that you want to do is always stay engaged. I am an interactive trainer. I like to engage people. This also keeps everyone attention to you because they never know if you're going to be calling on them. So that's how you would do this. Keep it happy, keep it unuseless. And the main 3 things to remember in any meeting, any type of meeting, board or any others, is 3 things. Have fun, be flexible, and know that these are fellowships that you have formed. So now we're going to go on to the other part of being productive in meetings. Sherry, if you don't mind changing the screen here. And that is what I just said. Get involved, be active. In fact, you can have a little contest or game about, who remembers what the last word of the day was for the meeting when we started our meeting last month or last week, etc. And that no one person, including who's ever directing the meeting, should dominate the discussion and go on and on. How can you prevent that? Follow the agenda. In fact, when we have board meetings at our clubs, we always say, follow the script, stick to the script, stick to the script. Add some humor into the meeting. It will bring a zestful appreciation and people will want to come back. And this helps with retaining your membership. How do we make sure that everyone, even if they are shy, will be willing to contribute? Oftentimes we put them on the agenda. If you have an inspiration and someone is usually shy, we invite them and say, hey, would you like to give a 10 to 20 second inspiration? And they do keep it within 10 to 20 seconds. There are so many ways that you can activate people to be participants. And that is, you have to make it fun, flexible, and know that this fellowship is for the benefit of everyone as a Rotarian. So now let's focus on your meeting's purpose. Why are we here? Okay, we're planning the next potluck. We're planning the next project. Stay focused on your checklist. Discussion should be centered in on that. And again, as I mentioned, engagement is so powerful. And that is the key. We always want to engage our members, engage our board leaders, so that we are empowering them and not telling them what to do. I mean, we're all adults here. I'm sure you love being told what to do, right? Versus guiding you, sharing with you, coaching you, and you feel empowered that, hey, thank you for respecting my thinking cap. I can do this. I can take it further. So this is how decisions can be made, is by allowing empowerment. So ensure that everyone understands that the decision and actions that were taken were majority rules or were thought through and is compromised. Every person has an idea whether you as a leader like it or not. I have changed to become a more collaborative leader versus being a dictatorial leader. A dictatorial leader just tells. A collaborative leader says, hey team, what do you think? And then interjects their presidency authority by saying, based on these things, how about we compromise apples and oranges and make a grapefruit punch? Things like that. So every leader can be a good leader, and every leader is not a bad leader. What we try to do and strive as leaders is to be fair and remember the core values of respect and striving for excellence, and try to have some tact. Humor is great. Interject some logic and common sense, and try to speak well. This is why Toastmasters is such a valuable part of any kind of presentation organization, because I will share with you that the number of ums and ahs and oohs and so's and la and that you say when you are leading as a speaker actually interrupts a listener's brainwave thoughts. And they do not capture what you are saying in its totality and what it should be. And so in line with that, we do follow the rules of a meeting. If you have any questions, please feel free to email Sherry Imamura Ryan or myself, Distinguished Toastmasters all. Thank you for having us here today.
Thank you so much. That was very informative. And the next speaker is Beverly Hikes from the Rotary Club of Hilo, and she's going to talk about developing leaders. So Rose, you did talk about the leaders and how that the leader can lead the board. So Bev, we're going to talk about developing those leaders.
Hi, hello, Naomi. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Can you hear me? Am I not muted?
You're good. You're
I'm
good,
good.
Beth.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Thank you, Benson. I'm trying to see what all of this is coming up here. Okay, today, and thank you, Naomi. Can you see my screen is what I'm, okay, good. Thank you, Naomi, for asking me to be here today to present on leadership development. So what I've done is I put together just a few slides that I will be following, but my main concept today is developing as a leader in 4 basic steps. So I want to start off with a quote that resonated with me, and I hope it does so with you. The best way to learn, to earn respect, to earn trust, and to earn the right to lead others is to lead by word, not by word, but by example. When I know you truly believe what you say, because your actions support what you say, then I will start to trust you. Then I will start to respect you. Then I will truly start to follow you. So leadership, developing as a leader with 4 basic steps that I kind of came up and I put together. We're going to talk about each one of them, but I'm going to spend most of my time on step 1. Step 1 is all about you. Leadership development starts with you. Now, it's not about you leading others, it's about you leading you. As a leader, we are fully responsible for our leadership development process. This step is also about accountability. Do you remember the song, Michael Jackson's song, Somebody's Watching Me? As a leader, you will live out this song every day because your team members, your club members, they will be watching you. They will watch your actions, your behaviors, your habits, all with the greatest of focus. You know the old saying that people will hear what you do, not what you say. That would be your team members, your club members. The good news that I have for you, that is leadership development gives you the perfect opportunity to take actions that would assist you in setting an example that others, those that are watching you, will respect and follow. So take time to reassess where you are as a leader, evaluate your strengths, your weaknesses, and areas that you would like to improve upon. We all have them. Get to know and understand yourself as a person and as a leader. Gain a sense of self-awareness because that is key to leadership development. So after you gather this information, you want to seek out knowledge, training, mentors, role models, people that have strengths and characteristics that you want to develop. You remember those people you always say, I want to be like you when I grow up? Well, you want to seek them out, talk to them, ask them questions about their leadership development process. Get involved with and learn about the different committees in your club and in your district. I always think that it's very important to work toward being a well-rounded and diverse leader. Schedule some time, and this is something that I have been able to do due to COVID and other things. I've had a lot of time where I could schedule time and go to our learning center on Rotary.org. That is a place that is filled with knowledge about everything about Rotary. And it is there waiting for us to absorb it. So when I had an opportunity to go on it, I just fell in love with just being able to go to all of those classes, those trainings, and they're fun, it's informational and interactive. So I spent a lot of time just going through all of that. I mean, I was able to find out about club level training, district level training. And then there were classes from Toastmasters that I was able to take and just be able to develop myself as a leader and as a professional. So it's important for us to take advantage of all the trainings that's available to us. And Rotary has made it so easy with the Learning Center. Now, then we have trainings like these, and you want to make sure you put all of these trainings on your calendar so that you can be here because they're very beneficial to you developing as a leader. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I want you to sing louder. So be sure to attend all the trainings that's available to you. Be proactive in your leadership development process. Make it a top priority. And in doing so, you will be able to bring about positive change in your club, in the district, the community, and your entire team will benefit from this, and they will follow your lead. I'm hoping you guys can see my screen, but I am having so many issues here. So let's just move on. And maybe Benson can flip in there and help me in a minute. But step 2 is also important. This is where you want to establish meaningful relationships, because relationships are so vital in every area of our life. Positive, meaningful relationships with your team members are crucial to the success of your leadership development. You know, there's another old saying, and I know I'm aging myself here, but it says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So you want to make this step all about your team. The well-being of our team members, and with them becoming the best version of themselves, should come before anything else. Getting results is important, and you're going to get that, but time invested in getting to know your team members is priceless. Now, I don't mean that you have to become their best friend forever. That is not the goal, but you want to get to know them as a person. What are their strengths, their goals, their ambitions, their interests? What's important to them? And as a positive, supportive leader showing a genuine interest, you will build trust and respect, and your results will follow. Step 3, and Vincent talked a lot about this. You want to cultivate a successful, influential culture in your club. The stages for this step will be set by step number 1 and step number 2 when you do the work there, making your leadership development your priority and establishing positive and meaningful relationships with your team members. This will help your club evolve a unique culture, a successful, influential culture with a foundation built on the attitudes and values of a leader who is focused and committed to Rotary's mission of service. This will help you attract like-minded individuals who will be willing to follow your lead. Step number 4, promote the development of new leaders. I want you to think about the time when you first realized that you could actually be a leader. Who was that someone that influenced you? For me, it was my mother. When I was 5 years old, I was the 3rd child, but because she observed my interest in learning and my ability to perform tasks, she promoted me to the oldest child. I became the person that she relied on to help get things done around our home, or to be in charge when she was gone. And so you can imagine that this didn't go well with my 2 older siblings, but that's another story. As part of our leadership development process, we should be actively encouraging and promoting the development of leaders within our current team members. We will have more members engaged in their learning process and improving in their current roles. We will have more members establishing meaningful relationships, creating a stronger commitment to our clubs. New leaders in our club and our district will be the gift that keeps on giving, because leaders develop leaders and they involve and engage others. Leadership is not a journey, it's a journey, not a destination. So taking full responsibility for your leadership development process will benefit everyone, and you will have long-term effect even after your tenure as president is done. And I'd like to take you back to where we started. The best way to earn respect, to earn trust, and earn the right to lead others is to lead not by word, but by example. When I know you truly believe what you say, because your actions support what you say, then when I will start to trust you, then I will start to respect you, and then I will truly start to follow you. So with that, I have a question for you. Are you ready to take your leadership development to a higher level? I am, and I hope you are too. Thank you for your time this morning. And I will figure this out here in a second.
Yeah. I'll take it that way. Okay, thanks a lot, Bev. Really, really appreciate that. Okay, so we're down to the last 30 minutes here, and then so now we're gonna do breakout groups now, right? And so it'll be a self-selected breakout group that'll be based on the size of your club. All right, so small club, so it's small, medium, large, right? So small club, 0 to 17. All right, medium club, 18 to 29, and then 30 and above is large club. So when I put out the breakout rooms, then you basically self-select. And then so here's what we're going to try to accomplish in our breakout rooms today. So what we want to talk about, and what I'm going to ask, and this is going to be like your leadership assignment, is for you guys to get a facilitator within your group, because we're confident that you can do that, and then talk about overcoming whatever obstacles you feel that will help to make your board more effective. So what are the obstacles that you feel that are getting in the way to making your club more effective? I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Naomi, before we break them out. Any more further clarification on that?
Yeah, just taking it a step further, what are the obstacles and how can you overcome it?
Okay, so we're gonna be in there about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back. So if you know, I know we've been on it for about an hour. If you need to take a quick break, go ahead and do it. But we're gonna continue the meeting now. So this is self-select. So 3 choices are gonna come up on your screen, and you just basically pick one of them, and it'll automatically put you into a group. Now, if you don't know what to do, or you're confused, or you're not sure what size your club is, you can stay in the room, and then we'll get you sorted out. Okay, does everybody see those choices up on the screen, or no? Because I don't see anybody leaving here. Oh, okay, now I see people leaving. Okay.
Sandy
All right.
was just about to lay in. She was like, okay, and here's a big tip to overcome that challenge.
That was
Breakout
really
room
short.
end.
All right, who was going to do that?
Sandy, she was about to reveal this great tip to overcome
All
that
right,
challenge.
Sandy. All right, Sandy.
No, just very quickly, I was just sharing with them, I provide training for student leadership at UH. And one of the big components is providing training for board members, right? And there's a couple of things going on today that we didn't have to encounter in prior years. And that's this huge communication gap we have over the generations. The way in which the younger generations communicate with their introduction of technology into their daily lives compared to those of us like me who are almost 3/4 of a century old, or over a half a century. We communicate very differently, right? But here's the tip. If you're having trouble getting your members to live up to your expectations of what you want them to do, a trick is to turn it around to make where the things that we want the board to accomplish are their ideas, not from the top, but their ideas, right? When it becomes their ideas, then suddenly there's ownership to it, and then they want to make it successful. It's easier said than done, but it's something just to think about as you're planning your meetings, right? I find that today the top-down type of, okay, we're going to do this kind of leadership style it's very challenging and does not work as well as perhaps it has in prior decades. So that was just my tip today.
We need to.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good tip, because now we have a very, very diverse group of people that are coming in and serving on our boards now, from all kinds. I made a comment one time in a board meeting, because I was talking about Naomi, right? And Naomi knows so much information about Rotary. I said, she's the Encyclopedia Britannica of Rotary. And somebody at a club looked at me, it was actually my granddaughter, and said, "What's that?" And so I said, "Oh no, it's like Google." And she said, "Oh, okay." She thought it was like a position like the Queen or something. Okay, so anybody, I mean, this has been a kind of a long session. So anybody want to add anything or offer any feedback that you got in your groups about boards, about board efficiency, about board culture, all the things that we talked about today? We got a lot of experienced people. I'm looking on our screen now that have been a part of boards, run boards. Okay, should I call somebody? Hey, Jerry Baldwin, what's your thought on it? Now, Jerry's in my club, and I know he's an experienced guy. He moved here from Gig Harbor in Washington, where they had a gigantic club. So I'm going to ask Jerry to give us a little feedback about boards.
Well, we've heard a lot of good rules to live by here today. Start on time, finish on time, have an agenda. Recognize, though, that the agenda is not what you sent 2 weeks ago. The agenda is what you adopt at the beginning of a meeting. If it's what you sent 2 weeks ago, adopt it and stick to it, but ask if there are any changes or amendments, and then adopt it and then stick to it. Finish on time. A lot of what I hear here today is Robert's Rules of Order. And so I would recommend to anyone who wants to know more about leadership of meetings and how to get the business done, to get a copy of Robert's Rules of Order and scan it, study it, and learn it. As one earlier edition of Robert's Rules said, it's not enough to have the presumption that people know that the chair or president knows these rules. The president or chair must know these rules. And it just moves the business along. So I tended to find here today that we were recreating a wheel in many ways. And so I'm a big proponent of Robert's Rules. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Well, we do cover that almost every training session in September. And we're lucky that Naomi's husband, Dean, comes, who's an expert at Robert's Rules of Order, to talk to us a little bit about that. So that's great. I wanted to hear from somebody who's in that small club group, because, small clubs are, it's a little challenging because you got the same people, and, like Volcano Club up here, it's just sort of a little carousel to see who's going to be president. And so, they've got a sort of a different dynamic. So, so Paul Nakachi, how about you? Any feedback from the small club people?
I want to touch a little bit on what Rose folks said. I gained a lot of, brought back memories of a lot of things that we should be doing, when planning a board meeting. And I thought that, Rose folks then covered a lot of grounds that sometimes we kind of forget. And that they bringing that up, just brought back good memories that we should be following, from the agendas, which we do at our club. But there are other things that they brought up that I think sometimes we forget, and sometimes we should, think about again, about simple things like starting and ending on time. They're so important, and to provide our guest speakers with the adequate time necessary. I mean, they're spending their time with the club, small club, medium-sized club, or large club, And I think they should be, you know, able to do the presentation. And to start them on time will mean ending them on time. And that's what I took away from the earlier meeting with Rose folks. And I think that's really good.
Thanks, Paul. That's really a great thing. I know in the years that I was president of my club, we would our board meetings were 6 to 7 o'clock. So we would come at like 5:30 and eat pizza, drink, talk, whatever. But at 6 o'clock, I'd start a little egg timer, and when that thing binged at 7, meeting's over. So we were always sort of watching that to make sure that the meeting ended on time, so that we could respect everybody's time. So speaking of that, we have one last presenter for today. It's Naomi, and she's going to be talking about board elections, those kinds of things that are coming up in the next couple of months. So I want to give her some time to make sure we go over that and cover that, and then we'll have a brief little wrap up, and then we'll be done for the day. Okay, Naomi, go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. A good discussion, and we're going to end up with succession planning, how to develop leaders. And so I wanted to real quick go over some of the things that the board should think about with the purpose, and that would be to guide the club, to connect people, look at the community and how your club represents the demographics of the community. So when you look at the governing documents and reviewing your constitution and bylaws is a good thing, because it kind of gives you what the law of the club is and the structure of the club and who's on the board, for instance, and if you need to make any changes. So some of the changes that have occurred recently are, number one, that the board is the governing body. Well, that's not a real big change, but when you think about the board, it is the governing body of the club, and it has the authority to make the decisions, and the decisions of the board are final. For the highlights of the Constitution, although meetings are not required, clubs need to meet twice a month. And so whether that's going to be a committee meeting or a project, it is a requirement for clubs to meet somehow twice monthly. And the club can cancel up to 4 that are not for a specific reason. But it also says that the annual meeting to elect officers needs to be done before December 31st. So because that's coming up really quickly, we needed to have this conversation with all of you to start thinking about how you elect your officers. So a best practice would be to get in this month, October, a nominating committee. And the nominating committee would work with the PE about who in the club would be good to step into these positions. And one of the suggestions was to kind of move people around so that you don't have the same people for 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years. And it's a good thing to cross-train so more people know how things work. But one of the new things in the Constitution recently is this Section 2 diverse club membership, and thinking about DEI and how our clubs need to represent our community. It's saying to please look at your membership. Is it a cross section of your businesses, of the professions? You know, we kind of went away from classifications, but it is important to think about the professions that you have in your community, your occupations, the organizations. And it's not only age, gender, or sexual orientation or gender, it's all of these things to consider. For bylaws, it talks about electing members. And one of the new things is that you don't have that 7-day challenge anymore. So the board actually can approve or reject a membership application, and within 30 days, notify that person. Now, if your club wants to have that 7-day or 10-day, whatever it is, challenge, because it is always a good idea to let your membership know who's coming in. It's up to you to put that into your bylaws. Okay, so just know that it is an option to just have the board approve that membership application. So who's on the board? Rotary, this is from Rotary, and it says the standard composition of your board would be club administration, membership, public image, service projects, and foundation. Okay, so from there, you can expand it to the club committee chairs and add other membership, but member positions. But think about these main components and how they're really important to how the board works. So when you think about succession planning, okay, it's a plan, and Benson talks about putting it in writing sometimes. So you're going to put it in writing, who's going to come to the table, and you look at the skills you need. So first of all, how do you get there? It's a vision, it's a shared vision that you think about. What do we need to do to run this club efficiently? How do we do what we do in projects and developing people or having friendship? So you look at the shared vision. What skills do you need? So that strategic plan is a good thing to have, is looking at the composition of your board. What do you need to run the club smoothly? What skills do you need? So if you need a public image person, that's a skill that maybe you don't have. So you're going to look for someone. And then when you have these people, mentor and educate them. You know, Bev talked about all of the classes in the Learning Center. So that's where your club trainer comes to play. Your club trainer can help with educating people on what needs to be done. So, you know, having committees is a good thing, because then you can have people step up, you can develop their leadership skills, you can see how they interact with people and collaborate. And then from there, you can develop them into future leaders. So, you know, really looking at how you can pass the baton. We had a speaker, Kenny Makulakane, and he was talking about Mauna Kea, but he said that each of us should look for someone to take our place. Start to mentor them, start to bring them along, and then pass the baton. So when we talk about how to develop new people or communicate with younger people, it's, you know, thinking about how to do that. And when you have conflict within the clubs and people are not happy, how can you work with them so that you can come to a solution to whatever the obstacle is? So, you know, really thinking about being a problem solver. Rotarians are problem solvers. And so let's see how we can work out the problems that you have. But is that vision, what do you need to do? What skills do you need? And really passing the baton over. Okay, Benson?
Okay, wow, we're just about on it. Thank you, Naomi. So any last words, comments, anybody want to make before we wind it up for today? Appreciate 90 minutes. Everybody's sort of been on there today. If you requested the strategic plan I was talking about earlier, I sent it out. If you didn't get it, put it in the chat. Put your email in the chat again, and I'll make sure I get it out to you guys. You know, in the 3 years now, this is the third year now, Naomi and I have been doing the district training together, and we've done a lot of work with you know, the presidents, the president-elects. A lot of you guys have been involved in those groups. You know, club trainers, foundation chairs. But what I'm coming to understand is that the board truly, the club boards truly have the biggest impact in any club at any time. They are typically the core group of a club, and the club kind of goes as the board goes. So if you have a smooth moving club that gets along well and is looking after the welfare of the club, things go well. If you have a club that you know, has a lot of conflict, is fighting with each other, the environment of the club is reflected by that. And sometimes, as the president, it might be overwhelming to be running the board and the club at the same time if you're the club president. So you guys might want to consider having a board chair. So you can sort of separate those duties out so that it doesn't all fall on one person, because typically in a club system, the club president also runs the board. So if you can separate those out, it takes a little heat off the president. I want to give the last remarks to Randy here. We have another minute or two. So Randy, wrap us up and take us home, and we'll be out of here. Go ahead.
Well, thanks again, Benson, Naomi, and everybody attended this morning. I think it's time very, very well spent. Parting comment, I'll go back to what my good friend Nancy said during her presentation this morning. The president, the PE actually is the one that chooses the board. Yes, the members elect the board, but it's that PE that selects their team. So the amount of time and effort you put into that now, your PEs put into that now, will pay huge dividends whenever 1 July next year rolls around. I can tell you from experience, both as the district governor and as the president, you'll have folks that'll say me, and you have other folks that no, not me, not now. But the me sometimes will catch you, and because it's an easy yes, and then a very, very, very hard no later on. Once you find out that is not a good fit for you, for your club. So encourage your PEs to take the time now to develop their team, and don't wait until 1 July and you're just looking for anybody to say yes. Because I think everybody on the screen has probably been into that situation. You're just looking for a yes so you can fill that hole. Again, thank you everybody for coming out this morning. Very, very much appreciate all 40 plus of you that spent your Saturday morning with us. And I'll see some tonight at the Waikiki Extravaganza, which I'm looking forward to. Should be good fun. So aloha, and we'll see you all again soon.
Okay, sorry, I want to clarify on the election. So some clubs will have the PE select the board, but we want to encourage you to move to a nominating committee, where nominating committee will select, recommend a slate of people. So you have more buy-in, because sometimes the PE doesn't know who's going to work, and maybe it's going to be that nominating committee that can put a good board together. So the election needs to be done by December 31st. Okay, so start working on your nominating committee now in October, so that you can start looking for who's going to fill those positions well, and then look for committees within each committee members within each area. But think about maybe having a nominating committee. Okay, thanks.
Okay, well, that's it for today. If you guys want to hang out and have more questions that you want to ask in person, Naomi and I will typically hang out. Maybe Randy will hang out too, but otherwise, appreciate your hour and a half today. Have a good Saturday. I'm up here in the volcano area of the Big Island, and it's sunny today, which means we actually can get out today. Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the meeting is recorded, and so if you just want to watch it one more time, it'll be posted on the website, our district website, probably by Monday.